Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be making my pot roast recipe. And if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe for more. The ingredients you're going to be needing is about a 2.5 to 3 pound chuck roast. And I've gone ahead and already cut off a little bit of the fat. It'll just take the edge off a little bit so it's not too fatty. I got some salt right here, and some tomato paste, and any type of red wine that you like, some olive oil, some balsamic vinegar. I've got some oat flour right here. You're gonna need about 1/4 cup, some garlic powder, a whole 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, some celery stalk, peppers, or black pepper, some carrots, and 1 red onion. You're gonna need to have a pot over here preheating on about medium heat, and we're gonna take this pot roast over here and we're gonna brown it just enough so that it gets really seared and really good. So put in some olive oil here, just a little bit to get it started. Then we're gonna be putting it into the pot. Get that in there. When you hear that sizzle, it's flavor. And so we're gonna let that go. And you'll know you need to flip it whenever, if you tug at it, it'll just release from the pot. So in the meantime, while the beef is browning, I'm gonna be showing you how we're gonna be needing to cut up this red onion. And so I've got the red onion right here. I'm gonna be splitting it in half. Then splitting it in half again. And then I'm just gonna cut crosswise so that we get these little itty bitty little strands like this. And what this is gonna do whenever we put it into the roast is it's gonna act kind of as a binding agent whenever it gets really slow cooked. So I went ahead and I flipped it on its side because you're going to be needing to brown all areas of the roast. With the celery, I just went ahead and I diced them really tiny, just like this. And you're going to just want to add the red onion with the celery because you're going to be cooking them at the same time. And if anyone's wondering why I have my hair in a band, it's because I haven't been able to go to a barbershop. So while you're still browning your meat over there, I'm going to be showing you how to cut up the carrots. You're going to want to cut them into these big chunks since you don't want them turning into mush, pretty much. So, just cutting off the tip right here. And you're just going to cut off this other tip. And just cut them into these big chunk-sized pieces. And there you go. That's how you cut it. Now we're going to be browning it on its backside now. Just like that. Let it go for another few minutes. And so now the roast has been fully browned, as you can see, just like this. So now we're going to be taking it out and we're going to be putting it onto a plate. There you go. And even though the roast is not fully done yet, we just want it to get browned. Next step is the onions and the celery in the pot, now that it's ready. Spread it around a little bit. And these brown little bits that you see on the bottom, it's flavor. It'll really come through in the sauce. So let them go for a couple of minutes just until they're kind of soft with the lid on, and then we'll continue with the next step. In a couple of minutes, and it looks really good. And you don't want them fully cooked yet. You just want to give them a head start. So Then we're going to be putting in about 1 to 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'm just going to be grabbing a spoon. There we go. A little bit of that in there. I think this can gives about 4 tablespoons, so I'll just put in about half. Just like that. Stir it around a little bit. Make sure it gets evenly dispersed. And if you want, you can also add a little bit of water at this time. And then you're also going to be adding in that flour that I mentioned earlier. I just ground up some oats right here. You're going to need about 1/4 cup. Put that in. Stir it around. And you're just going to cook it until the flour is no longer white. So after a couple of minutes of cooking, and it looks like this, we're going to be adding in about a 1/2 cup of red wine. Get this opened. Just like that. And then you're going to want to stir the bottom of the pan. They're well incorporated. And then you're going to be adding in that 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Around a little bit. And then you're going to be putting the roast back into the pot. So do just like this. Looks beautiful. Make sure you get all these juices too. Free flavor. Put this to the side. After you put in the beef, we're going to be sprinkling in some garlic powder. You can use a lot right here. Be very liberal. It'll add a lot of umami and unctuous flavor. Then, there's a little bit of black pepper. Not too much. Stir it around. Make sure it gets all incorporated. Look at that. So now the pot roast is going to be going into the oven for an 1.5 hours at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Put this in. And then while I have the oven going, I'm going to be baking some sweet potatoes. Just like this. Let me put it on the bottom rack. Just so it gives a little bit of room to the pot roast. Lay them just like that. So it's been about an 1.5 hours, and I'm going to be checking on the pot roast. And I'm also going to be taking out some of my sweet potatoes, since they're probably done. So, taking this out, leave these in there just for a little bit longer. I'll be checking on it. Looks beautiful. Nice deep red color. And so we're just gonna be mixing this around just to help cook it evenly. Flipping it. And make sure you get down on the bottom and scrape down. But don't scrape the sides though, because that's where all the burnt stuff is, and you don't want that in your sauce. And so we'll let this go for about 1 more hour covered, and then we'll continue with the next step. So an hour's passed, and so we're going to be taking it out of the oven. And for this step, we're going to be needing to put in those carrots that I mentioned earlier. Just give me 1 moment. Let's close this. Open it up. Beautiful. And as the cooking process continues, it should begin to soften. Stir this around a little bit. Oh yeah, it's beginning to soften. Stir around a little bit. Then add in the carrots, but you don't want to submerge them completely, since you kind of want to get them to have a roasted flavor. Submerge them a little bit so they don't burn. Just like that. Spoon a little bit more sauce on top so the beef doesn't dry out. And then we're gonna be putting this back into the oven for one last hour, uncovered. Here you go. Final step of the cooking process is finally done. And so now we have this beautiful, delicious pot roast. Just look at that. You have the nice roasted and caramelized carrots. You have the slow cooked beef. It's delicious. But an ingredient I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video is 1 to 2 rosemary sprigs. It really brightens up the flavor. And we're going to be adding them in now so that they kind of keep green and keep their fresh flavor. So I'll show you how to cut off the rosemary leaves. You just pretty much strip them off the stem. So now we're just going to be adding this into the pot, as well as the balsamic vinegar right here and the salt. And the reason why we're leaving the salt so late in the recipe is because if you had seasoned the roast and the sauce perfectly at the beginning of the cooking process, it would have cooked down so much that the end result would be way too salty. And so, if you'll follow me, we're going to be adding in the rosemary. Sprinkle that in there. Just a couple glugs of balsamic vinegar. It'll just brighten up the flavor. Just about that much. And then big pinches of salt. Of course, to taste. And one more should do it. And then you just break up the top of the roast. And just mix it all together. Let me get my mitten. Looks delicious. And the meat should begin to fall apart, just like that. And you can pretty much just tear this up however finely you want it. If you want it in big chunks, have it in big chunks. If you want it a bit more minced, then have it minced. You are your own chef. So now, this is the final product. Looks absolutely beautiful. And I personally like to enjoy it with some tostadas, which you can learn how to make on my chips and dips video on my YouTube channel. Or I also personally like it with some roasted sweet potatoes. And so if you liked the video, be sure to come back again. Hope you enjoy.